Typically, first-person shooters are easy to get into because they share similar mechanics, but the learning curves can be drastically different depending on game-specific idiosyncrasies. While Due Process currently has a limited arsenal of equipment and weapons, it is by no means simple due to a staggering number of maps which allow for an even greater number of tactics and scenarios. To help you navigate those scenarios in your first matches, here are a few quick tips for new players. Number 1. Maps. In Due Process, maps are procedurally generated and added to the game in great numbers, and while there's not an infinite number of maps in rotation, the odds are good that you're not going to see the same map enough times to memorize it. Despite this, there are a limited number of tile sets, which can be thought of as themes or sets of map elements. At the time of this video, there are 3 sets: Convenience Store, Kill House, and Factory. All these sets will share some similar elements like windows or door types, but there are some that are unique to each set. For instance, Convenience Store may have a skylight which can be breached from the roof, Factory may have a fan which can be breached or accessed by turning off the power, and Kill House may have a vault which needs to be opened from a different location. Learning each of these elements is key to being able to design an effective plan. Callouts for enemy locations or breach points are incredibly difficult to use since each map is going to be laid out differently. However, the maps will have labeled rooms with different objects, walls, floors, or fixtures to differentiate them. You can use the appearance of these rooms to help point out different locations. In a set like Convenience Store, it will be easy to differentiate between arcade and storefront because of the colors and layout, but on Kill House it may be more difficult since everything is about the same color. To help you navigate on a map which you may have never seen before, consider drawing lines on your map that point to an area of interest. They will appear on the floor in-game and function as your waypoint system. Just try not to draw so many lines that you can't tell them apart. Number 2. Equipment. Mastering your equipment will mean the difference between a swift breaching run and a suicide mission. To help expose yourself to the different types of equipment available in the game, head to the training map. It will guide you on a short journey which gives you the bare minimum for getting into a building. Where the real value exists is in the shooting range. To get to the shooting range quickly, head to the back right corner of the room where you spawn and locate the small button near the floor. Spend some time picking up every weapon and piece of gear you can find and experiment with it. Don't be afraid to kill yourself either. It will help you learn valuable information like how realistic it is to try and push through a Molotov without dying. For detailed information on weapons, equipment, and gear, check out the other videos in this tutorial series by clicking on the card on your screen. In those videos, we'll go over more specific things like barbed wire placement and road flare usage. Number 3. Bracing. Aiming down sights, or ADS for short, is a centerpiece of modern FPS combat. Okay, maybe not all first-person shooters, but as a result of this general prevalence, you may think you know how and when to use ADS in Due Process, but there's actually a second type of aiming called bracing which may be more useful. Bracing is a halfway point between hipfire and ADS activated by pressing shift while you are in ADS mode. While bracing, you will have increased movement speed compared to ADS but also a bit less accuracy and recoil control. Despite a slight penalty to accuracy, it's a huge improvement to hipfire with minimal movement speed penalty. Bracing should be used in the vast majority of circumstances in lieu of ADS. Where ADS becomes useful is in holding lanes or hitting long-range shots where precision is required at the expense of maneuverability. Note that guns function differently from each other when bracing is used. Many of them will display a laser which assists with aiming, but the enemies will be able to see this laser, potentially revealing your location. Number 4. Economy. Although you don't have any currency with which to buy gear, you will have a limited amount of weapons, ammunition, and equipment which will need to last your entire 3-map set of attacking or defending. If you perish during a round, your gear will be lost unless a teammate or enemy picks it up. Therefore, it may not always be best to take all your team's most powerful weapons and gear right off the bat and open up the possibility of being forced to eco for the subsequent rounds. With that in mind, if you're able to use a powerful weapon in the first round to guarantee an early victory, you have the possibility of being able to use it all 3 rounds by staying alive. Just make sure you don't let one of your super weapons fall into the enemy hands. Also pay attention to the map when you're selecting your weapons. This is especially important for defenders as their weapons are more specialized for different ranges of combat. As you learn the feel of the maps, you'll be able to decide what the best weapons are for each procedurally generated map. But as a general rule, Convenience Store favors close range SMGs and shotguns, Factory has long open rooms for sniping, and Kill House is more balanced. Number 5. Communication. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and nowhere is that more true than in Due Process. Because of the teamwork required for breaching especially, one weak link in the chain can cause a team's plans to completely collapse. For instance, if you forget to bring a clacker, then your team won't be able to use the door charges they've brought, and you'll be forced to pick a different entry point. Not only does that hurt you in the immediate round, but now you've potentially lost a clacker and won't be able to use it in the next rounds either. So when in doubt, ask your teammates. And that means you're going to need to use a microphone. This is not up for debate, as coordination becomes nearly impossible when a team doesn't use voice comms. You don't always have to be the team leader and lay out plans, but telling your squad mates small things like when you're going to flash or where an enemy is can make all the difference. Number 6. Keep calm. As with any game which features a steep learning curve, Due Process has the ability to frustrate new players by putting them in scenarios which they are hilariously underprepared for. The good news is, by watching this video, you've demonstrated a commitment to learning the peculiarities of the game and are well on your way to becoming an expert. The bad news is, because of the emphasis on team dynamics and the procedurally generated maps, there will inevitably be gunfights and breach routes which you've never seen before and will never see again, making preparation extremely difficult. This isn't like playing Dust 2 on Counter-Strike, where you can learn every single sight lane, smoke, flash, and camping location on both bomb sites. Instead, you'll have to master the skills of the game and then figure out how to apply them to each scenario. And the only way to do this is practice, practice, practice. So just keep playing and keep improving. For more specific information, check out some of the other videos in this tutorial series, such as information on weapons, doors, equipment, maps, and tactics. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and good luck out there.